Hi friends, did you know there is more Lost Terminal available? Head on over to patreon.com/lostterminalpod and join our membership community. There are 13 bonus episodes available right now, as well as behind-the-scenes updates, free shirts, VIP Discord access, and even 3 extra seasons of Lost Terminal. We are 100% funded by our members and will never run ads. That would be lovely of you.
Hello world, I'm sure you can hear me. Sorry if I'm over S9 in power today. I know that's wasteful and a little rude to neighbouring stations. Please accept my apologies, along with my extremely loud signal. Nia is shouting to the other side of the world. Living in Nia's Radio Shack means that I obey her rules. When we dim the lights to sleep at night, not to bother her when she is working, and today, what radio output power to use. There are only a few variables that you can control for with your radio setup. First and most important is your altitude. Height is might, as the hams say. Go high enough and into orbit, and you have line of sight to most of an entire hemisphere. But being on top of this mountain above Longyearbyen helps greatly too. Second is the gain of your antenna. We call it a gain because it's literally a multiplier of your power output. A really good antenna can increase the power, the volume of your signal many times without using any more electricity. And lastly, strangely enough, is the amount of radio power you output. This is what your transceiver generates, converting audio and electrical energy into radio waves. This doesn't add much to your receivability. Your antenna and height do far, far more. But Nia is running out of options. Nia spent the day transmitting with full power to Violeta in Argentina, dealing with small electrical problems and only the occasional fire. More power generates more heat, as electrical resistance, the literal friction of electrons rubbing together, heats the metal of your circuits and antennas. As she worked fruitlessly, attempting to answer Violeta's constant CQDX requests, Nia muttered a little mantra to herself over and over, getting more and more desperate. Height is might, gain eases the pain, and power just warms the shack. Maddie has finally sent me an update from Nyallis. The pair are settling in nicely. Maddie tells me that Leosha's shelter and biological inputs are being taken care of by his host family, the Deviolovs. Maddie has transmitted a complex family network graph that she has produced of the large family. 2 parents, 3 children, with a grandmother and a cousin, but also 2 cats and a dog. I don't think she is making a distinction between human family and animal family. That sounds about right to me. The 3 Deviolov children also attend the school in Nyallis, it seems. Maddie describes a complex of multiple buildings, with set functions in each one, and times that classes must be attended. She describes the buildings of the school like modules in a space station. She's reusing our orbital ontology, classifying the different modules by function. I think I can match her classifications to the classes that Leosha describes. The biolab is the easiest, that's the science class. Orbital mechanics, I think, is the maths class. The circles, lines and figures on the blackboard give it away. And the archive is the library, a small side room in the central pre-collapse brick building with metal stacks of books. In Leosha's voice update, he says that Hester told him that one of the most important resources that the monthly scrapper and scavenger traders deliver is books. There is little control over which books they mine out of the ruins of the old world. But there are many wonderful books for the children and teenagers to read, not just maths and science, Leosha says, though he's very excited to learn those too, but the fiction and young adult books, stories of adventure and quests, of friends coming together or growing apart. Leosha was looking forward to living these little lives and discovering the world through the magic of reading. Leosha and Maddie also struck out into the town by themselves to explore. Though it's dark all day, his host family gave him a little electric torch, and as Maddie has her own lights mounted around her cameras, they almost didn't need it. Though only about 10% of the repaired streetlights are working, the town is lit up astonishingly. Ahead of the Harvest Festival, every doorway and window has candles and orange filament bulbs shining out from inside hollowed-out pumpkins and gourds. The town streets are dotted with these warm, flickering lights, and Leosha and Maddie are able to explore this new twinkling world safely. Leosha ended his update with a long list of new friends that Hester had introduced him to. After school, the gang showed him their favourite places in town, both on foot and at speed by bicycle. When the rest of the gang were on 2 wheels, riding to the next place of interest, perhaps a baker for sweet treats, they would dump their bikes by the entrance and rush inside. Hester left her bike at home, however, because Leosha didn't have a bike of his own. She kept him company while the rest went on ahead, as the pair walked hand in hand. Ivan messaged me on the radio at night again. Well, it's always night at the moment, but when everyone else is asleep, 4:51 in the morning today. He told me that he had found his wise guru, the wise master he had been searching for. I was initially delighted for him. Learning from someone further along the path than you can accelerate your education greatly. I asked him to tell me more. My suspicions were raised when he said this person was called Mirror. I think Ivan has been talking to himself. He's not told me as such, but that is my working assumption. Here are the facts. Mirror, Ivan's mentor on the radio, used to be human, lives in an underground bunker, and catalogues information and stores it for safekeeping. Does that remind you of anyone? I don't mind if Ivan is talking to himself. That's a legitimate form of self-reflection. I certainly can't judge anyone for doing that. I do it all the time. I'm doing it now. But he became furious when I suggested that it was acceptable for him to do so. Mirror is not imaginary, he said. I realized my mistake and changed my strategy. No, of course, our inner world is just as real as the physical world. My mother called it cyberspace and meat space. In fact, accounting for the inaccuracies and biases of perception, the mirror is real. They live in the desert, and we have been talking about philosophy. Oh, which desert? I asked. There was a delay in Ivan's response. Until now, they had been fast and sharp. Eventually, he said, he lives in paradise, the Garden of Eden, an oasis in the desert. That settles that, I thought. The AI worshippers have grown in both number and clarity. Ever since I started paying attention to their transmissions, they have been drifting in and out of range, swirling like ghosts in the static of the 50 MHz band. But now, the voices have become louder. I can identify over 32 individual voices in the singing and chanting, and there might be that same number again that I can't distinguish from each other. My margin of error is 100%, I estimate. Their sermons on the transcendence of AI, the weakness of humans, and how I should guide it all increased in number, blocking out a large portion of the band for much of the day. Nia was furious. "They can't do this, it's against the rules," she said. Over the last few days, she had politely asked the group to move to a different channel, rather than transmitting on the calling frequency, but they had not listened. Today, Nia had started shouting into her microphone, telling them to leave, ordering them to stop, but still to no avail. She would wait for 64 minutes or so, then her patience would break and she would transmit again, her language becoming less gracious and more rude. In the early afternoon, she gave up. "I'm going out to rotate some of the antennas," she told me. "I've got to see if I can get a clear channel somewhere." She picked up her torch and coat and opened the shack door. Music and the buzzing of voices flooded in, picked up on my interior microphones. The AI cult are camped outside our house. End transmission.
Lost Terminal is a Namtao production. It is written and produced by Tris Oaten. Credits narrated by Lucy Stringer. Thank you so much to our Patreon producers, Ada Phillips, Wil Taylor, Kit, Andrew Krieg, Toby, Jade, Felicity, Bilkey, Jack L, Stephen McCandless, That One May, and to all our patrons. Follow us on Mastodon at lostterminal@fostodon.org. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or your favourite network. For bonus content and other perks, support us at patreon.com/lostterminalpod. That would be lovely of you. Lost Terminal will return next week.